He's got a lot on his hands here. Seventh Lord Saturn is on the ascendant of the chart. They're forming Raj Yoga. Mercury and Venus are forming, or Mercury and Saturn are forming Raj Yoga. Viparit Raj Yoga.
Oh, good
What?
one.
Oh, I'm talking to myself. It's that's Saturn is still
That's brilliant.
4 in the first house, and I don't recognize that.
It is what in the first house?
It's 4. It's
Saturn's a Raj Yoga in this chart. Saturn's forming Raj Yoga from the ascendant. Is forming Raj Yoga from the Aruda Lagna.
So we.
Actually, as you
Raj
said,
Yoga. That means kingly.
you're very right. You see, what's happened here is Saturn has gone to Marana Karkastana. So who's suffering? 7th and 8th houses, right? On top of that, it's joined Dushtana Lords, that Dushtana Lord Mercury, who's 3rd and 12th Lord.
Right.
So he got into power, and his marriage is suffering.
Right.
Now look at Pitrikarga Saturn. That's why his father also died early. See that? That's also important.
Yeah. See the Pitri Karaka, well the Pitri Karaka is saying is in Marana Karaka stan, so his father dies early.
Now Indira Gandhi had the same Saturn in Cancer and Lagna.
Pitri Karaka?
No, just Saturn.
Uh-huh.
She was also put into power, and at the same time, she lost her spouse early.
Okay. So these are very poignant combinations for that Saturn. But if you can find the combination of planets forming Raj Yoga from one of 3 vantage points, the Lagna, the Paka Lagna, or the Aruda Lagna, or all 3, then that planet is forming, it's very powerful. Now in Clinton's childhood, things were a little bit tough with his father dissociated and his mother having to work hard to support the situation. But it's a Viparit Raj Yoga. So he goes from here to way up here in his lifetime. He takes one of those quantum leaps indicated by Viparit Raj Yoga. Now, when let's look at some dates. First of all, let's look at the simple ones like marriage and so on. All the Raj Yogas in this chart are pretty clear. We don't have to go into them particularly.
Does George Bush also have Saturn and Mercury in Cancer Lagna?
Yes. Also Viparit Raj Yoga. This is more powerful, however, because if they're forming in the 10th from the Aruda Lagna. You see the 10th from Aruda Lagna? Saturn becomes the Yoga Karaka, Mercury becomes the Lord of the 9th, and they form in the 10th. They form powerful Raj Yoga with Jupiter in the Aruda Lagna. Like, this guy he continues to be such a popular person, a popular president. It doesn't matter what they do. I mean, he could stand out on the veranda of the White House and start sniping at people and still be a popular president. It's almost like it doesn't matter what he does, right?
And that's caused because of the moon.
Yeah, the moon and sun are both involved.
You mean Jupiter?
Sun and Jupiter. The sun stimulates Raj Yoga. The moon sustains the Raj Yoga. So moon, Jupiter, mutually aspecting, obviously, are Raj Yoga as well.
So is the moon in the 7th from the Aruda Lagna pretty major? Because
Absolutely.
You see that in Bill Gates, and you see that all over the place.
Absolutely. Moon in the 7th from Aruda Lagna. Moon is the Karaka of Aruda Lagna. And the 7th from it. Now, every single combination in this chart forms Raj Yoga. Every single one. Mercury and Saturn, Moon and Jupiter, Jupiter and Sun, Mars and Venus. Venus rules the 4th, Mars rules the 5th and 10th, verbatim Raj Yoga happening with this chart. Okay.
Just curious if you think he's going to have any periods in the future where he'll rise again in a big way.
Like through his wife. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Huh?
We can look at that. So far, this is a very successful hindsight astrology. Kind of like that, for the time being. But we have to learn this way. we can't verify what events have happened so far, then, you know, like we've been talking about all day, then we have to go back and find out why. I mean, if you look at this stuff carefully, everything is explainable. So, let's see here.
Look at that. Pisces is running now for him. Do you see that Pisces is in quarters to Hora Lagna?
Also,
Again.
interesting.
And
No
this is
wonder
the
he
time
got
when he published the book.
10 million in advance, yeah.
He just published the book. So what's he? He's in Pisces Dasha now. What's the Antardasha? He's in Aries Antardasha. Aries is the 10th. Look at that.
Yeah, look at the moon there.
Moon is there in the 10th house. I mean,
Mhm.
It's lifelong thing, isn't it?
well, for lifelong, but especially now. You go in
Especially
any
now.
bookstore, what's the first book you see nowadays?
Yeah.
Bill
might be
Clinton,
the
My
next
Life, or
one.
whatever it's called, something like that. Anyway, it's on all the book stands, you know, glaring at you to walk into the bookstore. Okay, here's a Gatika Lagna too, which is pretty interesting. Gatika Lagna brings about, you know, position, power, fame, etc. As Visti is pointing out, Hora Lagna is in a Kendra from the Dasha Rashi. In all these charts so far, we found the Hora Lagna was either in a Kendra from the Ascendant, or the Hora Lagna was in a Kendra from the Dasha Rashi
I think in all cases they were in Kendra to Dasarasi.
also.
Yeah.
Like in Bill Gates and Julia Roberts, there was both happening.
Yeah.
In the case of Hugh Hefner, in the case of Bill Clinton, Hora Lagna was in Kendra to the Dasha Rashi, at least. Along with the Gatika Lagna, throw in that for a little more power, distinction, fame, etc. Now, the subperiod sign, which is a pretty mind blower, is directly the 10th house. It has the moon there. What's the moon the Karaka of? Oh,
Fame.
Karaka of the Aruda Lagna. Moon is the Karaka of the Aruda Lagna. I.e., you know, suddenly his fame and distinction is being resurrected again. Right? He's come back. As soon as all the Republicans thought they got rid of him, he's back. Aspected by the sun from the sign of Leo. He said if you watch the Republican convention or the Democratic convention speeches, Bill Clinton came out to give his speech. It was like he was the star of the show. It was as if John Lennon came to give a speech. You know?
That's true.
He was the star of the show. You know, anyway, you all saw it. So let's talk about some dates.
Can I ask, you know, with the country of America being, they say, Gemini ascendant, his Hora Lagna being Gemini, would
Yeah.
there be a link? He's like,
Well, I didn't get the question. Sorry.
America's chart is Gemini ascendant.
Oh, yeah. Well, even that's a matter of, you know, controversy to a certain extent.
Well, in that case, Bush should be the president of Saudi Arabia or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Hora Lagna's in Leo.
yeah, I
It's
see.
not Gemini, it's not.
I mean, they're interesting observations, but it really doesn't prove anything. It's just an interesting observation. But, so, I can see everybody's getting a little tired and restless here. Let's just wrap up with a few events, and then we can call it quits, unless you all want to go on with us.
You got 10 minutes, go on.
We'll go on for 10 more minutes. And then have cocktails. I'm sorry, you can erase that off the
Yeah, let's do it.
No,
Yeah, this is Friday, right? Happy hour.
So I started thinking about that when Visti was talking about it the other day.
Sorry, what did I do?
Anyway, all these anecdotes you can erase off the CD if necessary. Married to Hillary Rodham. I don't have the exact date, but it was sometime in 1975. 1975. It was the Dasha Leo, at least.
Oh, Upapada's there,
Yeah.
right there with the sun. Perfect.
I mean, it's a perfect illustration of this.
And 75, you said.
1975.
Which month?
Which one should it have? been?
Okay, everybody guess. Which one should it be?
We want, first of all, we're establishing Leo as the dasha, sudasha of his marriage. Why? Leo is directly to Upapada Lagna. Easy. Aspected by Jupiter and Moon. Very much prone.
Aries.
Okay, so we can easily say that Leo is the dasha. Now, it's between the antardasha of
Aries or Taurus.
Aries
Aries or Taurus?
or Taurus. So let's see if we can, what's the most likely one? Anybody except Vishti can.
Aries.
I think Aries.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
two
I think
Aries.
so
Any
too.
more Aries?
I think so.
Three? Any more? I would have to agree. I would have to say it would have to be Aries.
Yeah? When was it?
Huh? What?
We don't know, but with Rahu up there, that's
Where is
Sometime.
Dharapata?
What's that?
Where is Dharapata?
Dharapata would be in
Dharpada would be in the Libra.
Libra right here.
I would say it'd have to be Aries because of that. Moon and Aries are in the 7th from Dharpada. And furthermore, Moon and Aries aspect the Upapada Lagna, who happens to be the Dasha Rashi.
Good point.
Otherwise, Venus is kind of, you could sort of bend, twist, pull, contort, or whatever to get Venus to fit the mold.
So there has to be a link between the Antardasha and the Dasha.
Yeah. That's right. And both the Dasha Rashi and the Antardasha should have some connection to the Upapada Lagna. So I say it should have been Aries.
I agree.
Okay. No dissidents? If there is, we take care of you.
Does anybody know when he was married?
I buy you a new pair of shoes.
Nobody bought his book.
When was it?
What's that?
Do we know when it was?
We don't know. I mean, we're just,
Okay.
based on what
It
we
was
know.
just guessed, okay.
Just based on this.
So someone will have to do some research and get back to us.
Yeah, somebody could do some research and find out the exact date with the marriage. Okay, so the daughter was Chelsea. She was born, we have the exact date for this, February 27th, 1980. Okay, the Mahadasha is Aries.
Mm-hmm.
And the Antardasha was Aquarius.
Aries Aquarius. Let's see.
Darakarka is Jupiter. Putrakarka is Rahu. Now, here's an interesting thing. Putrakarka has to have some connection to these dashas too, right? Just like the Darakarka and the Upapada Lagna has to be associated with the dasha in order to bring marriage. The Putrakarka should be involved here.
Should A5 be involved also?
What's that?
Should A5 be involved also?
Yeah, but mainly the Putrakarka. Now, the Putrakarka is Rahu. What's the relationship between Rahu and the sign Aries A and Aquarius B? What's the relationship?
It rules it, Lord. It rules Aquarius.
Yeah, well, Saturn's more the stronger ruler. But yeah, Rahu is at least one of the rulers. Now, Rahu is unobstructed. Well, maybe not unobstructed. But at least it has Argala in both Aries and Aquarius.
It does have unobstructed Argala on Aries. There's no doubt about that.
Right. But insofar as Aquarius is concerned,
And then Ketu there.
Sun is going to, obstruct that Argala.
Actually, Ketu is going to.
Yeah.
See that?
Anyway.
But Ketu's fifth lord, so it won't obstruct. At least it won't obstruct children.
Right. Take the Dasha Rashi as the ascendant for that period of time in her life. Then count the Rashis from there for his life. And check out the 5th house. Check out the 9th house. 5th house has Sun and Leo in its own sign. In the 5th from the Dasha Rashi. Sun and Leo is in the 7th. Also, Jupiter aspects the sub-period, the Antardasha sign. And the Lord of the Antardasha sign. The Jupiter is very active here. Rahu is very active here. And the Sun, being a Karaka for childbirth, is also very active here. So I would say this is a good Dasha Rashi, a good Dasha sub-period for childbirth. Where was Jupiter in Chelsea's chart? Does anybody know?
Robert, could you just run that through again, what you just did? You went from Aries and you counted.
I can't hear you, Rosemary. You have to speak louder.
Could you just run that through again? Like I didn't hear it either. You said you counted from Aries to...
Yeah, to Leo, because Leo is the 5th house of Aries. Keep in mind that Rashi Dasha means a progression of something, whether it be the Lagna, whether it be the Sri Lagna, or in the case of Mula Dasha, progression of something to some point in time in the person's life. Mula Dasha is not a Rashi Dasha, but it's Kendra calculated. And so take that sign as the Lagna for that time in life. He must have been, getting famous at that time in life as well. What else was going on in 1980 for Bill Clinton? We'd already been elected governor of Arkansas in 1978. So that Dasha was still going on. It was Aries. We didn't mention this. He's elected governor of Arkansas during the Dasha of Aries Libra.
Oh. Well, that's very clear.
So that's very clear. Libra has Jupiter, has the Ruda Lagna. Moon is in the 7th from Libra and the Ruda Lagna. They're forming Raja Yoga. So can or does Raja Lakshmi manifest at this time?
Yeah.
Obviously. The Moon is Lord of the Lagna, Jupiter is Lord of the 9th. They're mutually aspecting. This is a Dasha system to time the effects of Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is granting in the form of his becoming governor. So he gets money from this. He gets financial support in order to become the governor and so forth. All the grahas are supporting it. The Dasha and Antardasha are both aspected by Sun from the sign of Leo. So that he gets a throne to sit on. Right? He rises to some high position of leadership, rulership, governorship. So in the same Dasha period, he has the birth of his child.
She has Jupiter in Leo, retrograde. She has
Oh,
4
cool.
planets retrograde.
Okay. So she has Jupiter in Leo. So she was born during Bill Clinton's Sudasha of Aries Leo. Jupiter was transiting the sign of Leo at the time.
Aries
That's far out.
Aquarius.
That's right.
Aries.
Aquarius.
That's one thing that's always very
Yes.
interesting. If you
Jupiter was
you're looking at the chart of a parent,
in transit.
look at the child's chart and to find where Jupiter was at the time when the child was born, and that has to be significant so far as the dashas that are going on in the parent's chart. So here, does Sudasha work or what? Aries is the Dasha sign, Leo is the sub-period sign, and at the time she was born, Jupiter was transiting in the sign of Leo.
Also, Aries is the 9th house from the Upapada.
Yeah,
So children should come in that dasa.
right.
Aquarius aspects that same 9th house from Upapada. So it's very likely.
Absolutely.
This could also have happened in Scorpio. Why didn't it happen in Scorpio then?
When did Scorpio Dasha happen?
Yeah. You see, let's see.
When was-
Aquarius has Argala on Aries. Scorpio's Argala on Aries is obstructed.
Yeah, but
How
you know,
about Leo?
Jupiter's influence is just too dominant on Aries and Leo in this chart.
What happens
Maybe
now
you did have another child during Scorpio. We just don't know about it.
Well,
What happens with this? Is this taking into consideration the Saturn in the sign of the dasha reversing or changing the motion, the correction?
Yes, everything's taken into account, yes.
So, this is already corrected for that.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this?
Don't worry, sir.
You did. What? You did.
Does not matter.
Let's pull out a few more events here before we all break for the day. Those air conditioners make a lot of noise, but they don't cool very well, do they?
Well, you know, see, the thing is, if you put them on high,
Yeah.
then when
It's
they
too
cool
loud.
the room down, then they don't work so hard to keep it cool. But if you turn them too low, then because it's constantly thinking that it's hot in here, they run on full power trying to keep it cooler. So it's actually better to turn them on high and have it be a little cooler, because then they're quieter. You know, it's
So
not
the AC
bad.
doesn't have any Nichabunga yogas going on with it.
Unfortunately, it's what I'd set
You got
up.
Rajabunga yoga. Okay, so anywhere,
Yeah,
let's see
this
here.
is really hot today.
So, what do you want?
Huh?
When he was elected president of the United States, that was in November of 1992. We're bringing forward the results of Raja Lakshmi Yoga here.
Wow.
That was the, I mean, check this out. That was the dasha of Libra. And the subdasha was Aquarius. What are the planets that are most effective here?
Aquarius again, eh?
You have Libra with the Arula Lagna and Jupiter in
What's
it.
doing here?
He was vastly powerful at this time. Libra is the fifth, or Aquarius is the fifth from Libra. And from that vantage point, Mercury and Saturn form Raj Yoga also. Right? From Libra are Mercury and Saturn forming Raj Yoga. The Saturn rule the fifth and Mercury rule the ninth, and they join in the 10th. And the moon, which is the Karaka for Arudha Lagna, is aspecting Aquarius.
There we go. Rajapada's there.
Oh, the Rajapada is there too.
There we go. Thought so.
That brings it home. The Rajapada.
They say when the Rajapada gets activated, you enter a throne.
Yeah. That's what it means. The Rajapada. You enter the sanctum of the royalty and sit on the throne. Now here the Rajapada is in Aquarius and it's aspecting Libra and the Arudha Lagna. So Sudasha works for timing the ascension to presidency, governorship, and these things. It does. I mean, it's very clear. Then he got elected for a second time. This will be the last one before we call it quits for the day. He got elected for a second time in November of 1996. This was the dasha, also the dasha of Libra. At this time, it was the subperiod of Gemini. Again, Gemini is the ninth from Libra. Aquarius for the first election was the fifth from Libra. Mercury joined Saturn in the 10th. Saturn's the lord of Rajapada. These are all very easy conclusions to draw. Is that satisfying?
This is wonderful research you've done.
Thank you. But
I think that's far out in this chart you've come